I never thought a house pet could understand danger before a human did. If someone had told me a year ago that my quiet, gentle cat would end up saving my life, I would have laughed it off as something you'd see in a movie. But what happened to me was real. And sometimes when I lie awake at night thinking about it, I still get chills. My name is Emily, and this is the story of how ignoring my cat's strange behavior for days almost cost me everything, until he finally forced me to see the truth. I remember the exact moment when everything began, even though back then it seemed so small it didn't even register. It was a Tuesday morning, early autumn, the kind of morning where the air is crisp and your windows fog just slightly from the temperature difference. I was running late for work, juggling my bag, my coffee, and trying to find my keys that somehow always vanish when I need them most. My cat, Milo, my sweet gray tabby with white socks and big curious eyes, was sitting in the hallway staring at me in a way I'd never seen before. It wasn't his usual feed me stare or play with me stare. It wasn't even annoyance. It was concern. Real concern. His tail wasn't twitching the way it normally did when he was impatient. It was perfectly still, wrapped neatly around his paws. His pupils were wide, not from excitement, but from something that felt heavier, almost anxious. He let out a soft, low meow, one that sounded almost like a warning. But I was late. I bent down, petted his head, kissed him quickly between the ears, and told him I'd play with him when I got home. Be good, Milo. I rushed out the door, not realizing that something had already started shifting inside my home, which he sensed long before I did. That night when I came home, Milo didn't greet me at the door like he always did. Usually he'd trot over, tail up, chirping and weaving around my legs until I scratched under his chin. But that evening he stood at the end of the hallway again, staring, not moving, not making a sound, just watching me as if waiting for something to happen. It was unsettling enough that I paused and frowned. "What's wrong, buddy?" I asked, setting my purse down. He blinked slowly, but didn't come any closer. I walked toward him, expecting him to run to his food bowl like always, but he backed up slowly, step by step, keeping his eyes locked on mine. I should have paid attention. I should have realized that something was different, but life keeps you busy, and I was tired. I chalked it up to him being moody or maybe not feeling well. I even checked his food, his water, his litter box. Everything looked normal. Eventually Milo relaxed, curled up next to me on the couch, and I let the moment slip from my mind. But the next morning, it happened again. And this time, Milo didn't just stare at me. He blocked my way before I could leave. I was heading toward the front door, coffee in hand, mentally running through everything I needed to do that day. Milo suddenly darted in front of me, almost tripping me. I gasped, grabbing the wall to steady myself. "Milo!" I snapped instinctively, but then I felt guilty. He looked up at me with those same worried eyes, letting out a long meow that sounded almost frustrated, like he was trying to speak. He pawed at my shoe, then circled me once, then sat directly in front of the door. This was not normal behavior for him. Milo was affectionate, playful, social, but he wasn't a dramatic cat. He didn't usually get in the way or demand attention like this. "Okay, what's going on with you?" I whispered, crouching down. He rubbed his face against my hand, but only once. Then he got stiff again, ears angled slightly backward like he was listening for something. I stood up slowly, feeling a strange prickle crawl up the back of my neck. The kind of instinctive sensation you get when someone is watching you or when something feels off, even if you can't explain it. The condo was quiet, too quiet. But again, I dismissed the thought. I had work, deadlines, responsibilities. "Milo, sweetheart, I have to go," I said gently. He didn't move. I sighed, carefully picked him up, placed him gently on the couch, grabbed my bag, and slipped out the door before he could block me again. And once again, I ignored the warning. Over the next few days, Milo's behavior escalated. At night, he paced. Not constantly, but enough that it made me notice. His ears were always perked. His tail was always wrapped tight around him, not his usual relaxed swish. He refused to sleep in his favorite spots, and instead stayed close to me, almost guarding me. Once I woke up around 2 a.m. to find him sitting on my chest, staring toward the bedroom doorway like he expected something to walk through it. I followed his gaze and saw nothing but darkness. I didn't sleep well after that. Still, I found myself brushing it off as cat logic. Cats stare into nothing all the time. Cats get weird. Cats act strange for reasons we never know. People joke about it constantly. So I convinced myself Milo was just in one of those phases. Then the sounds started. Not loud ones. Not even obvious ones. They were soft, easily dismissed. Light creaks, faint taps, the kind of subtle noises a home makes as it settles or as air moves through vents. But they didn't match the usual pattern of sounds my condo made. And every time I heard one, Milo reacted instantly. His head snapped toward the direction. His ears stiffened. His whole body tensed. One night I was brushing my teeth when I heard a faint clicking sound coming from the living room. I froze. Milo, who had been sitting on the bathroom rug, leapt up and ran out before I could even spit out the toothpaste. I followed him, heart picking up speed. But when I got to the living room, nothing looked out of place. Milo stood near the window, staring upward at the ceiling, unmoving. I whispered, "What are you hearing?" He didn't look at me. He just kept staring. Sleep became difficult. Every little noise spiked my anxiety. I started leaving lights on in the hallway because the darkness made me feel exposed. Milo rarely relaxed, and when he did, he rested with his head toward the hallway, as if waiting for something. And yet, I still kept convincing myself everything was fine. Then came Friday night, the night everything changed. I had just settled into bed, trying to unwind after a long week. Milo curled up beside me, but he wasn't resting. His body was rigid, tail flicking anxiously. I stroked his back, trying to calm him, but he didn't ease up. Instead, he suddenly stood up, looked directly at me, and let out a loud, sharp meow I had never heard from him before. My heart thudded. "Milo, what is it?" He ran to the bedroom door, scratched at it once, then looked back at me. Something about his posture, his urgency, made my stomach clench. I got out of bed slowly. Okay, I'm coming." He bolted into the hallway, and I followed him, barefoot on the hardwood floor. The condo was dim, lit only by the soft glow of the hallway lamp. Milo stopped halfway down the hall and stared toward the kitchen. I held my breath. That's when I heard it. An unmistakable sound this time. A soft, deliberate metallic click. Not a settling noise. Not a pipe. A click. Like metal brushing metal. Or like something shifting where it shouldn't be shifting. My pulse spiked painfully. I whispered, "Is someone in here?" Milo hissed. Not loudly, but sharply, as if confirming a fear I hadn't dared to speak out loud. I felt all the blood drain from my face. I grabbed my phone off the hallway table and held it in my hand with shaking fingers. I considered calling someone, anyone, but I didn't even know what I would say. Then another sound came, a slow scrape, coming from the kitchen area. I stepped backward instinctively, heart hammering against my ribs. Milo stepped forward instead, positioning himself directly between me and the sound. He was small, barely 11 pounds, but he stood like a guardian. That's when all the moments of the past week hit me at once. The staring, the blocking the door, the pacing, the long nights when he refused to sleep, the sounds only he reacted to. He had been trying to warn me. My breath turned shallow. I held my phone tighter and whispered, Okay. Think, Emily. Think. I retreated slowly to my bedroom, Milo staying right beside me. I locked the door, even though I had no idea if that would help. I pressed my ear against it and listened. Footsteps. Soft ones. Not heavy, but real. Inside my home. My hands trembled so badly that I almost dropped my phone. I dialed 911 with shaking fingers, whispering into the receiver as quietly as I could, terrified the sound of my voice might alert whoever was outside my room. But before the dispatcher picked up, something happened that I will never forget. A moment burned into my memory forever. Milo suddenly leapt onto the dresser beside the door, puffed up, ears flat, letting out a growl I had never heard in my life. Not a cute cat growl. A warning. A protective, primal, terrifying warning from an animal that sensed danger long before I ever did. Then, the door handle moved. Not violently. Gently. Slowly. As though someone was testing whether it was locked. My entire body went cold. I felt tears forming in my eyes because this was the moment everything became undeniably real. I wasn't imagining it. I wasn't anxious for no reason. Someone was inside my home, and my cat had known all along. And that was when something inside Milo snapped into action, something that went far beyond instinct. His behavior changed from anxious to fiercely protective. He jumped down from the dresser and planted himself in front of the bedroom door, body curled low, ready to spring. He wasn't big, he wasn't strong, but he was prepared to defend me with everything he had. My voice shook as I finally whispered into the phone. "Someone is in my condo. Please send someone." I pressed myself against the far wall, heart racing so loudly I wondered if it echoed through the room. Milo remained perfectly still, staring at the handle as if daring it to move again. And it did. Just a slight rattle. Enough to confirm the intruder wasn't giving up. I covered my mouth to muffle a sob. And Milo... He let out a sound that was half growl, half hiss, filled with a fury I didn't think cats could possess. I watched him. And that's when the realization hit me so hard I felt it in my chest. If I had left the house that morning, if I had ignored him one more time, if I had gone to bed without paying attention to the sounds, something terrible could have happened. Milo wasn't acting strange. He was trying to save me. The silence after the door handle stopped moving felt even heavier than the moment before it. Milo stayed positioned in front of the door, as still as a statue but radiating tension like a coiled spring. I kept my back pressed against the far wall, clutching the phone so tightly that my fingers had gone numb. The dispatcher's voice finally came through, steady and calm, grounding me in a moment where my mind was spiraling. "Ma'am, stay on the line. Officers are on the way. Can you tell me where you are in the home?" My voice trembled as I whispered. "Locked in my bedroom. Someone is outside the door." Milo growled again, low and unwavering. The dispatcher asked me to stay as quiet as possible and only speak when necessary. I nodded instinctively, even though she couldn't see me. My eyes stayed fixed on Milo, on the way he tracked every tiny sound from the hallway, on the way he refused to move even an inch. Then, faintly, I heard footsteps again, moving away this time. Slow, careful, as if the intruder realized they weren't alone, but hadn't decided what to do next. My pulse didn't slow. If anything, it quickened. Whoever was out there wasn't fleeing. They were thinking. The dispatcher continued speaking softly, reassuring me that help was close, asking me to listen for anything that might help officers when they arrived. But I could barely form thoughts. All I could focus on was Milo's rigid posture and the icy fear creeping through my chest. Minutes passed like hours. Then came another sound, one that made my heart stop. A metallic click, but deeper this time, from the front door. The intruder was trying to leave, or locking something, or checking something. I didn't know. Every possibility terrified me. Milo's ears twitched. Then he bolted toward the window ledge, leaping up in one fluid motion. He stared outside, tail flicking rapidly. I followed his gaze, and that's when I saw the first flash of blue and red lights reflecting across the neighboring building. Relief washed over me so fast and so hard that my knees finally gave out. I sank to the floor, covering my mouth as tears spilled down my face. Milo jumped down and ran back to me, rubbing against my leg urgently. Not in distress, but almost as if telling me to stay alert just a little bit longer. A loud banging sound echoed from the front of the condo. "Police! If anyone is inside, make yourself known." My breath hitched. There was no response. Then more shouting, more commands, more pounding. Finally, footsteps rushing inside. "Ma'am, officers are entering your home now," the dispatcher said through the phone. "Please stay where you are until they reach you." The next seconds were chaos. Heavy boots, tactical voices, movements through the hallway, and then, "Bedroom occupant, this is police. Are you safe?" I scrambled to unlock the door, my hands trembling so badly I fumbled twice before the latch finally clicked open. As soon as I cracked the door, an officer gently pushed it wider, scanning the room before signaling it was clear. I stepped out, shaking uncontrollably. Milo stayed glued to my leg, his tail low, but his body still tense. The officers swept the rest of the condo, but I could tell by their faces as they returned that they had found signs, footprints, a partially opened kitchen window, a small tool on the floor near the pantry, but not the person themselves. He was gone, slipped out just moments before they arrived. The realization hit me like a tidal wave. If Milo hadn't alerted me, if he hadn't stopped me from leaving that morning, if he hadn't sensed the intruder's presence nights before anything became obvious to me, I could have walked right into danger without knowing it. One officer, noticing Milo pressed protectively against me, smiled gently and said, "Smart cat you've got. He probably saved you tonight." I nodded, tears welling up again. "I ignored him for days," I whispered. "He tried to warn me, and I didn't listen." They stayed for a long time, securing the scene, asking questions, explaining procedures, making sure I wasn't alone until I felt steady enough to breathe normally again. I gave statements. I showed them where Milo had reacted, the places he had been staring, the spots where I had heard strange noises. And the whole time, Milo never left my side. Not once. When the officers finally left and the condo fell quiet again, I sat on the couch with all the lights on, still trembling. Milo climbed into my lap, curling his body against my chest. He let out a soft purr, but it wasn't his usual relaxed rumble. It sounded more like reassurance, comfort, a grounding rhythm that kept me from falling apart. I buried my face in his fur, sobbing quietly. You knew all along." He nudged my chin gently with his head, and it hit me, really hit me, that if I had kept brushing his behavior off as just a cat being weird, if I had ignored him one more night, the person in my home might not have left. They might have been waiting for me to fall asleep. They might have stayed hidden longer. They might have chosen a moment when I wasn't alert. Milo didn't just sense danger. He changed his entire routine to protect me. He blocked the door so I wouldn't leave. He paced at night because he was afraid for me. He slept lightly, always facing the hallway. He warned me in every way he knew how, and when everything escalated, he put himself between me and danger, without hesitation. That night, I didn't sleep. I stayed awake on the couch with Milo curled on my stomach, my hand running automatically through his soft fur. Every time I stopped petting him, he'd lift his head and nudge me until I continued, as if making sure I didn't drift off. In the days that followed, the police handled everything with patience and professionalism. They never found the intruder, but they collected enough evidence to confirm someone had been inside for several nights, coming in through a small window in the laundry area that I had never realized didn't latch properly. They believed the person had been attempting to observe my schedule, probably intending to return again. Hearing that made me feel sick. Because if Milo hadn't reacted the way he did, I don't like thinking about what could have happened. But after the fear settled, after the security upgrades were installed, after friends and neighbors checked on me, after routines slowly shifted back to normal, something between me and Milo changed forever. He wasn't just my pet anymore. He was my guardian, my silent, watchful protector, the one who saw danger before I did, the one who paid attention even when I didn't, the one who refused to let me walk into something terrible. And the truth is, I'll spend the rest of my life being grateful that I finally listened to him. When people visit now, they always comment on how Milo follows me everywhere, how he keeps an eye on the hallway, how he sits near the door every night like a tiny sentinel. I smile, because they have no idea how much that little behavior means, how much it once mattered. I owe everything to this small, brave gray tabby who used every instinct he had to protect me. Sometimes I still wake up in the middle of the night, and Milo is already sitting up, watching, listening. And instead of fear, I feel something else. Safety. Because I know, without a doubt, that he'll never ignore danger, and I'll never ignore him again. I look at him now, stretched across the sofa, blinking sleepily at me as if he didn't once stand between me and real danger, and I whisper to him the same thing every night. Thank you for saving me, Milo. You're my hero. And he always responds the same way, by closing his eyes, purring softly, and resting his head against me. Like he knows, like he remembers, like he always will. I thought I was the one who rescued him when I adopted him, but now I understand. He was always meant to rescue me too. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope Milo's bravery reminds you just how much our animals understand, and how deeply they care for us, even in ways we sometimes fail to notice. And now, if you found this story meaningful, touching, or inspiring, I want to gently ask you, please consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a like, and sharing this video with someone who loves animals. Your support helps these stories reach more people who might need a moment of hope or comfort. Thank you so much for staying with me until the end, and may you always be protected by the ones who love you most.